Okay, let's just get this out of the way. This is a Nilah League of Legends. League of Legends. The build for Nilah, right? Let's get that out of the way. Got that? Right? Good. I have a little presentation to help organize my thoughts. Well, firstly, the kicker of the build. You can get an outstanding amount of armor penetration, though I want to admit it's given that it's not the best champion for armor penetration. That goes to Darius. Though I want to argue this is the best champion that can utilize all that armor pen. This is a little bit of the math in case you want to go into that. I'll try to briefly explain it in case you don't want to see it. Let's go over to the right first. Explain the armor pen. The flaws of stacking armor pen is that it grows multiplicatively. It's not linear. I'll just say that. It's not linear. Multiplicatively? Okay, it's not linear. Linear. The more you stack, the more you lose. It does not stack linearly. So in this given circumstances, we're getting about 3 sources of armor penetration. Nilah's Formless Blade is, when fully stacked with 100% crit chance, gives you 33% armor pen. Lord Dominic's Regards gives you 30%. And Eclipse, specifically, when you stack 5 legendary items, selling your boots, each one giving 4%, is 20%. If we did happen to add all that together, linearly, just plus all together, the great sum, it would be 83% armor penetration, which would be insane. Well, we don't have that. Instead, we have this kind of cut down version. The more you add, the more you lose. And on the left, we can see a bit more as to how that could be calculated. There's 2 formulas to calculate the collective armor pen, though the one we'll use is the one that lets us calculate 3 sources. There's like a simple formula equation right there. 1p1, 1 minus p1, 1 minus p2. It's just, if you know math, you can do that. If you've done basic algebra, you probably know what this kind of looks like. But in the bottom of it, I already put in the sources of armor penetration calculated. So basically, Formless Blade, 1 minus 0.33. Lord Dominic's, 1 minus 0.3. Eclipse, 1 minus 0.2. Gives us the opposite of the number. And when we do that, we subtract it by 1. And then multiply it by 100, make it look like a nice percentage number. And we end up with the sum of 62.48 armor pen. There's also lethality into the build, which really does add on. When you have this much armor pen, lethality works wonders, especially on the squishier folk. And hopefully I get to show you a bit of that. But also just want to say that Nilah just really benefits from crit chance. You can see here, in her Q specifically, that's where she gets... Oh, this is... on the right, that's her Q. Up to 33% armor penetration based on how much crit chance, 100% equals 33. She gets like this weird version of like Omnivamp / Lifesteal specifically towards champions only. But it's only for a Q. It's not for E, not for R strictly. Like right here, her basic attacks and Formless Blade heal for 0 to 20% based on critical strike chance. So her autos, her basic attacks, and specifically her Q, the active, the damage, it heals for a percentage based on crit chance. It's like Omnivamp for one ability plus autos. But the crazy thing is that this whole ability, which is probably her main ability that she does use, aside from in like a team fight, that's where the ult comes in, but the damage is increased by 0 to 120% based on critical strike chance. 1, 2, 3. 3 different assets are boosting her Q based on crit chance alone. And she can slip this Q into like a line following her E, the slipstream right here you can see, in a way that it just won't miss. You can EQ basically like Samira, and your Q will just follow through right afterwards and you just won't miss. And then her R isn't so much more on damage, but really just like an overall big heal for her team, which is another thing that really helps with her ult. When you have this much armor pen and then going into this build as I am, you're going to be able to one-shot the enemy team. most of them. If not a tank, even you can easily burst them down though. Having this much healing for your teammates, just for them being nearby, you can bring your team like back up half full at least, and be able to one-shot them. Even if you don't manage to kill them all in one go, they should bring them back into the game in a standing where they can go back in. The build is, well, with items, want to get and keep 100% crit chance while adding percentage armor penetration. It's really just 2 items that add on to armor penetration, the Mythic, Eclipse, and Lord Dominic's. With items, you can see there's no boots here, but we're going to go Berserkers to add an ample amount of attack speed. That will be enough, because hitting her Q, Formless Blades, grants a scaling amount of attack speed. It gives a small amount of attack speed, so just hitting your Q gives you some attack speed, and that'll scale throughout the game just by itself based on your level. What we want to do is just rush into Eclipse, then play into what you believe may be the problem, the tanks/bruisers, or the squishier ADD, or the squishier folk. Lord Dominic's regards for the tankier kind, Collector for the squishies. And then once after that, you want to get the other one out of the 2 that you didn't get already. So Eclipse, LDR, Collector, or Eclipse, Collector, LDR. Normally though, I want to argue that Lord Dominic's is a pretty safe bet moving forward, because most of the time the issue isn't going to be your lane. If you're doing well for yourself, even if you don't do well, I promise you, this is one of the builds that can get you back into the game, no matter how underfed you are. As long as you're, CSing, helping where you can, looking for angles, helping out your team, you can slowly climb back up and just get fed again, or get fed once and for all. It has a ridiculous amount of damage, but the thing that really kickstarts your damage is getting Lord Dominic's. Getting a great amount of armor pen, not only from the item itself, but from Eclipse, and then the crit chance, adding onto it 3 different armor pen, just from getting one item after Eclipse. From there, you want to maybe consider getting Essence Reaver. You do have mana issues, as long as you don't play too much with your abilities and use them sparingly, or you know how to play around your mana. You could be fine and maybe push it, but I would recommend it just because of the burst damage as well. Going into EQ, like you go E, and then you follow up with your Q, so you can't miss it, then auto once. A lot of damage is stored into the Essence Reaver while giving you mana. That's kind of all you're going to need for the one shot. After there, you're kind of pretty solid. You're just building upon. Then Bloodthirster to really take advantage of your damage from healing more from it, while giving you 95 bonus AD late game. Bloodthirster doesn't overheal you anymore, but gives you bonus AD if you're closer to full health, 70% or above, which is a ridiculous amount of AD, and really helps kickstart the build for no late game scaling with AD. Also, just want to mention, don't worry about losing boots and lacking speed. Thanks to Eclipse per legendary passive, it grants you a flat 5 move speed along with a 7% move speed from Phantom Dancer. You sit at a comfortable 51 bonus move speed out of combat. In combat, you get more move speed from proccing Eclipse and Phantom Dancer. If you proc them both, I looked into it in the practice tool, it's 120 bonus move speed during that set period, as Eclipse is being procced as well. But you're just slightly above what boots normally give you without having boots. As for the runes, I have tested, and I'm confident on these runes specifically. This is what I recommend for everybody. If you know there's something else you would like or play into, I know I definitely prefer Relentless Hunter, maybe Treasure Hunter, just to get a better edge on getting takedowns. This is what I recommend. This is what I believe would be the smartest. Electrocute is very easy to proc and a reliable means of bursting the opponent. EQ and then auto them once. That pushes out your entire kit basically in a few seconds. And if you have Essence Reaver, super reliable. Sudden Impact gives bonus lethality, adding on to the insane amount of armor pen. When you have this much armor pen, lethality is incredibly useful for the squishies. But the armor pen plays a lot better towards, the tankier people, bruisers, tanks. But if you want to one-shot someone, it's just having a little bit more lethality really helps. Eyeball Collection is good, period. Ultimate Hunter, because your ultimate holds incredible damage potential that can make or break team fights. It heals your teammates. It deals incredible amount of damage. Having that ult more often, definitely, I can admit, is a lot more useful. a lot more, probably the smarter thing. Legend Bloodline, because in this build, it's not towards the end you get to see Bloodthirster. Legend Bloodline, because most of the build, throughout most of the game, you won't have a lot of sustain. Bloodline gives enough lifesteal to be useful out of combat, while granting a minor amount of HP to make you less squishy. Nilah's base HP and her scaling HP is so dramatically low. I wouldn't be surprised if she was one of the squishiest champs in the game right now. If you don't add any HP, she has nothing. Then we get Coupe de Grace to help finish the job. When they're low, if they somehow manage to survive the burst, you just finish them off. You do incredible damage with your Q. Your auto's empowered by your Q, Formless Blade. You do incredible damage. If you are going into a team that's like all bruisers, all like tanks, like let's say like enemy bot lane didn't want to be an ADC and support the traditional kind. It means like a set Garen's, Darius Garen, you've seen those games, right? Then I would genuinely recommend cut down, because your base HP is so dramatically low. You can actually take advantage of that with that rune specifically. But in most cases, I would say that rune is less useful, isn't useful enough to pick up casually. Coupe de Grace is a safe bit. Everybody gets low, but the guarantee that someone's gonna have more health than you and a lot more to take real advantage of it, which is not recommended. But if you see it, don't be afraid to take it. Like all tanks, all bruisers, don't be afraid to take it. And then the minor stats like attack speed, armor, and then health. You're super squishy. The health actually has good scaling. It's pretty bad early, but it scales pretty decently late game. Armor, because armor is just good overall. Tower diving, taking the enemy ADC. I decided to show my sources, because why not? And I was just going to say that most images were taken from the actual League of Legends game or the League of Legends fandom. And there's a site if you wanted to go there.